There's a quiet kind of pain that comes from looking at someone else's life and wondering why yours doesn't look the same. It creeps in softly through smiles you scroll past, voices that sound more confident than yours, lives that seem to have everything figured out. And before you realize it, you've turned your own reflection into a comparison chart. You start to measure your worth by what others have, what they've achieved, who they've become, forgetting that no two hearts are meant to bloom the same way. We've all been there, lost in that invisible race no one asked us to run. But sometimes, it takes just one person, one quiet moment, to remind you that you were never meant to keep up with anyone, only to grow into yourself. Subscribe to the Tales Beyond Word for more motivation and healing, and stay close for this story. There was once a boy who carried the weight of comparison like an invisible backpack. He didn't know when he first put it on, maybe when he saw his classmates praised for things he couldn't do. Maybe it began the day he noticed how easily others seemed to shine, while he stood in their shadow, trying to understand why his own light never felt bright enough. Every day, he measured himself against someone else. Their grades, their clothes, their confidence. And every time he looked in the mirror, he saw only the spaces between who he was and who he thought he should be. At home, his parents would say, "You just have to try harder." At school, his teachers would say, "Look at what your friends have achieved." And so he tried endlessly, desperately, until trying became another way of saying I'm still not enough. One afternoon, when the sky hung low with rain, the boy stayed behind after class. He didn't plan to talk to anyone, but his old teacher, Mr. Alden, noticed him sitting alone by the window. Mr. Alden was the kind of man who never raised his voice to be heard. He spoke slowly, as if every word was shaped by thought and kindness. He walked over, placed 2 small pots on the desk and said, "Can I show you something?" The boy nodded, unsure. Mr. Alden opened his hand. In one palm lay a rose seed, tiny, delicate, almost glowing against his skin. In the other, a bamboo seed, rough, dark, ordinary. "These are both going into the soil today," he said softly. "But they will not grow the same way." The boy frowned. "They're both plants, shouldn't they?" The teacher smiled, the kind of smile that comes from knowing something most people overlook. "The rose will sprout soon," he explained. "You'll see its first stem within weeks. It'll bloom quickly, vibrant, fragrant, admired by everyone who passes by." He paused, placing the other seed in the pot beside it. "The bamboo, it won't show anything for years. You might water it, care for it, and still see only dirt. People will think it's failing. But underground, it's growing roots, strong, deep, wide. And when it finally rises, it will shoot up taller than anything around it, because what grows slowly grows strong." The boy looked down at the pots, silent. Rain tapped softly on the window beside him. And for the first time, he felt something shift, not an answer, but a quiet understanding. He stayed after school for weeks, helping Mr. Alden water the 2 plants. True to his words, the rose blossomed beautifully, filling the classroom with color and life. The bamboo, though, remained bare. Day after day, nothing. The boy began to feel frustrated again. "It's not working," he sighed. Mr. Alden smiled gently. "Not everything beautiful is meant to be seen right away. Sometimes, what's growing in silence is what will last the longest." And so the boy kept watering both. He didn't know why, but the act itself started to calm him. Something about the quiet routine, the soil, the sunlight, the patience, began to teach him what no lecture ever had. Years passed. The boy grew older. He forgot about the rose and the bamboo, forgot about the lessons, and got lost again in the endless race of life. He compared his career, his income, his progress to everyone around him. And once again, that invisible backpack grew heavy. Until one day, Walking home through the same neighborhood where he once went to school, he saw an old building with ivy crawling up its side. The windows were dusty, the doors worn, but inside, in the corner of the classroom he once sat in, was something tall and green, piercing through the ceiling like a quiet miracle. It was the bamboo. Still alive, still standing, still growing. And in that instant, everything came rushing back: the rain, the seeds, the patience, the words. He remembered what his mentor had told him. What grows slowly grows strong. He realized then he was never behind anyone. His growth was just happening underground, invisible, silent, necessary. And maybe, just maybe, all those years he thought he was failing were actually the years he was forming roots. He stood there for a long time, watching the bamboo sway in the soft wind that blew through the broken window. And he smiled, not because he had figured everything out, but because he finally didn't need to. He walked away that day lighter, freer, as though he had finally taken off that heavy backpack he'd been carrying for so long. He no longer needed to prove anything. He no longer needed to chase anyone. He no longer needed to compare. Because now he understood, every soul blooms in its own season. And what makes you different is what makes you divine. Somewhere in the quiet corners of the world, there are people still waiting to see their own light. People who look around and feel small, because no one ever told them that the bamboo and the rose were never meant to grow the same way. If you are one of them, let this be your sign. You are not behind. You are not less. You are not invisible. You are simply growing roots, the kind that no storm can shake. And when you finally rise, the world will understand what your silence was preparing. Because the truth is, you never needed to compare yourself at all. You just needed to trust that your time would come. Some stories don't end, they simply rest inside us, whispering when we forget who we are. And if this one stayed with you, let it lead you to the next right here, on the Tales Beyond Word. Subscribe for more motivation and healing, and keep walking gently toward yourself.